Okay, we're here at top Spur Trailhead. We are doing a day hike today, part of the Timberline Loop that goes around Mount Hood. Doing 13.8 miles today. Going to be going up to the Baldy Mountain area and actually doing the northern section where we're going to be going all the way to Elk Cove. Let's go. Gonna be a cool one today. Got a low of 37 and a high of 51. Got some gnarly tree roots to climb for several tenths of a mile. And up to an informational sign. The gnarly tree roots don't stop, almost form stairs. We're in the first half-mile segment from top Spur Trailhead. Goes up about 400 feet and takes us up to the actual Timberline Loop where the real mountain views open up. Even though this first half mile from top Spur Trailhead to the Timberline Loop is pretty much straight uphill, about 400 feet. I'm actually very much enjoying it. I find these route steps be kind of cool, interesting, and I'm enjoying views of the old growth forest. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, so we just made it up the 0.5 mile section from top Spur Trailhead to the Timberline Loop. My recommendation from this west side approach is actually to go this way. Okay, we are coming up to some more signage here. Let's go take a look. So we've made it to another junction here. To go to the south section of the Baldy Mountain Lookout, we want to go this way. Mount Hood Wilderness towards Muddy Fork. Please note right now it's closed around Yoakum, but we're not going nearly that far. Just going 0.4 miles to Lookout and then we're going to turn right back around. This is definitely a more concentrated section of old growth forest. Lots of trees. Very beautiful. Doing a little bit of a hack here. Just walking 0.4 miles to the right to basically the most epic viewpoint south of Baldy Mountain. We're not going to go all the way down to Muddy Fork though. A, there's closed river, and B, that just kind of descends more into an old growth forest, and we're kind of cherry picking the best views today. So go about 0.4 miles in this direction to the viewpoint area, and then we're gonna turn around, backtrack, and actually end up exploring more of the northern section all the way to Elk Cove. I like to add this little 0.8 mile round trip viewpoint check to kind of capture the best of the western side without going all the way down to Muddy Fork. So we're going to be doing 13.8 miles today and about 2,400 feet elevation gain. Okay, we are coming up the edge of this old growth forest area to a clearing, which I'm anticipating will yield us some epic mountain views. So let's go take a look. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. Look at that. Look at that panoramic view of the basin. Absolutely spectacular. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. And look at that. That is absolutely spectacular. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Look at that. It's the glorious Mount Hood. Let's go take a closer look. We're on the Timberline Loop south of Baldy Mountain, going south towards Muddy Fork. Aren't going all the way to Muddy Fork. We're actually just doing this absolutely spectacular viewpoint section. And look at that. That is absolutely beautiful. Look at that. This is an absolutely spectacular mountain wonderland. Tallest mountain in this entire state of Oregon. That is beautiful. Look at that. Look at that. This is the way we just came from. Taking a panorama of the absolutely spectacular emerald green Mount Hood Wilderness Basin. And look at that. The absolutely spectacular and majestic Mount Hood with these hauntingly beautiful overcast gray clouds above us. And let's keep going on the trail here. This trail is called Timberline. It's actually probably one of the two best backpacking loops in the entire state of Oregon, along with Broken Top. It's about a 40-mile loop with several great places to camp along the way. Most people do it in 3 nights or 4 nights to have a leisurely experience. Look at that. That is spectacular. And we're continuing along the EPIC Timberline Loop. Have an absolutely spectacular view as we walk along it. Look at this. Look at that. This is absolutely spectacular. Look at the epic views from this trail. My gosh. Going through a narrower section here. Some well-groomed bushes adorning the trail. And look at that. That is absolutely spectacular. Straight ahead, money shot of Mount Hood. Again, the tallest mountain in the entire state of Oregon. Look at this. This is absolutely beautiful. The viewpoint of Mount Hood is absolutely spectacular. My gosh, these views don't stop, do they? They just keep going. Here on the Timberline Trail, south of Mount Baldy, from the top Spur Trailhead, and we're enjoying absolutely spectacular views of Mount Hood with a hauntingly beautiful gray sky above us and this beautiful overcast day. Classic Oregon weather. And look at those views. Absolutely spectacular. Some hauntingly beautiful gray clouds above it frame the mountain, give it a light glow. Absolutely incredible. Look at this. Look at these views. This is spectacular. This is incredible. Look at that. This is absolutely beautiful. We're here enjoying the Timberline Trail, which walks around the ridge line of the glorious Mount Hood, tallest mountain in the entire state of Oregon, with some hauntingly gray, beautiful clouds. Beautiful day here in Oregon. After admiring that absolutely spectacular Mount Hood basin, we are now re-entering the old growth forest. We finished our 0.8 mile out and back to the viewpoint of Mount Hood south of Baldy. Now we're doubling back to the main junction, and we're actually going to be exploring the north area of Timberline Loop today. So we are going this way. Going to be going by the Cairn Shelter, Y East, all the way to Elk Cove. Let's get going. So for this first section towards Elk Cove Camp, showing beautiful old growth section. Got some down logs, some bushes, old growth trees, kind of an ecologically diverse area. Crawling over some logs here, stepping and kind of integrated into the trail. And we got a duck under this one. Continuing along our northern path towards Elk Cove. Cut a cutoff trail here. We are going to stay on the main trail. Coming up to another trail here. Let's check it out. McNeil Creek. That way. We do not want to go that way. We want to stay going this way on Timberline Trail. Let's keep going. And we've got a little bit of a limbo tree we have to get underneath. And we are climbing up another root system, stair system as we continue on. Another uphill root system chute we're climbing up. Roots feel a bit like stairs. Makes it kind of easy in a way. A lot of down logs you gotta step over. The timber laden area such as Timberline, that's just par for the course. They do a good job clearing it, but it's so vast that there's always a few down logs that you gotta step over. Part of the experience. After a long root system through a bit of a burnout downed tree section, we are now re-entering the splendid old growth forest proper. So we continue to gain elevation. I said our overall height today is about 2,400 feet, getting the lion's share about 1,400 in this section. Upward incline, but it is well graded, so it doesn't feel too bad. It's pretty comfortable. We are walking across logs here. Let me step over. Continuing along Timberline Loop. Bit of an obstacle course above and below downed logs, up tree root systems that act as stairs, through downed logs, burnout sections, bush-laden sections. Now we're getting back to the old growth forest, continuing to make progress. And going up the entire way, but at a reasonable incline that doesn't feel too daunting. It's part of the process of getting to our viewpoint area above us. Navigating through a pretty interesting section of the forest. The trail is kind of narrow. Sometimes it could be hard for a second to even know where the trail is, but just keep charging forward and the trail reveals itself. This is a cool section. I'm enjoying this section. It's a bit different than a lot of other old growth forests. Sometimes the old growth forest is just a big wide trail with giant thick trees on both sides, which I enjoy. But this is definitely a little bit more interesting as we continue to weave. So what causes devastation like this? Was it a hurricane? Was it a tornado? Looks like it, but no. This is just the natural state of the forest here in Mount Hood Wilderness. A lot of downed trees, a lot of twisted roots. Have a little bit of a apocalyptic feel to it, but it's actually quite beautiful in person. Old growth forest, a lot of downed logs and trees. A lot of them kind of reddened from lack of hydration and ultimately dying. It's actually quite hauntingly beautiful. This section definitely has a disheveled feel to it. Past ice storms and windstorms have wreaked havoc on this area. Still a clear trail though, and it's actually quite beautiful. I enjoy every segment of the forest being a little bit different. Variety is the spice of life. So I'm definitely enjoying this section. Continuing to climb up. Getting pretty solid elevation. Soon we'll get to a plateau section that has much more expansive views. Views really open up, and we'll get the payoff for going up this 1,400 feet, getting some pretty epic sprawling views of Mount Hood and Alpine area. spectacular meadows. Looking forward to it. Definitely going up. It's ultimately going to be a ridge line. This particular section is actually a pretty steep incline. This is just getting steeper and steeper. This particular section, pretty much just straight up. Nothing we can't handle. I spot a clearing ahead. See if it's just a quick ecological transition or if we're actually getting to a different area. My guess is ecological transition. And yep, it's a little clearing. Get a sense of the mountain. And look at that, we got a little peak of Mount Hood. Beautiful. And we're going back into the old growth forest for a little while. Although I suspect we're getting to the outskirts of it. Going underneath a nice little tree arch. I always like these little sections. I feel like it's gated for us. The views are starting to open up a little bit to our side. I think we'll be getting a better view soon. Close to another arch. Here, meandering through an interesting section between old growth trees and downed logs. A lot of little tight, narrow passages to get through, but it's a passable trail. It works. Kind of a cool tree there. As we continue, climb through this tree tunnel, a little bit of sun peeking in and giving us encouragement to get to the other side. It's beautiful. Sun wishing us a beautiful day, pleasant morning. Feels like we're getting close to the top of something, some sort of ridge. Right now we're going right dab smack through the middle of the forested section. Could sense we're starting to get views develop to our left. I've already seen peaks of Hood to our right. I suspect we're going up a forested ridge upon which we will have our views open up to wonder and splendor. A limbo tree. Certainly looks like we were coming upon a clearing to, I'm guessing, some absolutely spectacular mountain views of Mount Hood. Let's take a look. Look at that spectacular basin. Let's keep walking around here. That's actually Mount Hood straight ahead. Some cloud cover. There's the very top of it right there. That is actually absolutely beautiful, haunting. Got the sun behind the clouds, The clouds just hiding everything but the tip of Mount Hood. There is river. Continuing along Timberline Loop. This is the northern section. And look at that. Absolutely spectacular, heavenly view of Mount Hood. The top, the peak is obscured by the marshmallow puffy clouds, but nevertheless, that sun peeking through, it is absolutely beautiful and epic. Definitely feels special. Actually, the kind of view that frankly stirs your soul a little bit. This contrast is casting a pretty haunting glow down on the valley. Emerald, old growth forest, basin of Mount Hood wilderness, absolutely lighting up from this beautiful display. We're looking at Mount Hood, the tallest mountain in the entire state of Oregon. Some white puffy clouds covering up the peak, but with the sun peeking through, it's casting a bit of a haunting glow on the emerald basin below. Absolutely spectacular view of Mount Hood wilderness and the apex of the entire state straight ahead, the epic, majestic Mount Hood. Look at that incredible basin below, looking at Mount Hood wilderness. Here we are to Mount Hood Peak. Look at that. Absolutely spectacular view of Mount Hood. As we weave here on Timberline Trail, the glowing sun and the white puffy clouds, marshmallow clouds, partially obscuring the peak. Otherwise majestic, beautiful view. Mount Hood and Mount Hood wilderness here on the Timberline Trail here in Oregon, and we're weaving through a mountain ridge that's also giving us epic mountain views like this. Look at that, absolutely spectacular. We are coming on another clearing. Just did another incline section of the old growth forest, and we keep going back and forth between old growth forest sections and spectacular ridge view sections. And look at that, absolutely beautiful, incredible, as the clouds are starting to burn off. Just broke through the forest section, coming to another gorgeous ridgeline view. And look at that, absolutely spectacular. That is the glorious Mount Hood, partially obscured with some white puffy marshmallow clouds here at Timberline Loop. And we're in the northern section, heading towards Cairn Shelter and ultimately Elk Cove. Look at that. That is absolutely spectacular. Take a look down on the basin below. Had it cast an emerald shadow. Beautiful old growth trees with this light peeking through. The sunlight going through those white puffy clouds is brightening up the whole area, giving a radiance. The mountain glows across the horizon. Absolutely beautiful. Looking at an absolutely gorgeous basin. This is Mount Hood wilderness with the tallest mountain in the state of Oregon, Mount Hood. And we've got some white puffy marshmallow clouds and the sun peeking through, casting a glow on the emerald basin of Mount Hood wilderness. The spectacular Mount Hood. We've got some absolutely beautiful clouds framing it with the sun peeking through. We're here on the Timberline Trail, a trail that loops around Mount Hood. It's a 40-mile loop, one of the two most popular backpacking trips in the state of Oregon. We've cut back into an old growth forest, and we're steadily gaining elevation. In fact, the last section we just went up was probably the steepest we've done so far. We are still climbing and meandering switchbacks. Steady elevation gain, well graded. Definitely up though, definitely a little tiring. Nothing too crazy. I think I hear some running water coming up. Either just a creek or a waterfall. Looks like a little creek. Nothing too crazy. Continuing to climb through a pretty interesting old growth section. There's another little creek crossing. This one's a little bit more raging than the last one. You can tell by increase in the noise. Look at that. Beautiful. Let's cross it. First, let me give you the view of the cascade below. We are crossing a creek here. And we made it. As we continue to climb up. Definitely an interesting section. Almost feels off trail, but it's the main trail. To go across a couple creeks and climb up a little scramble section, get back up on the trail. Here's a section where you just want to watch out for mud if you can avoid caking it on your feet. A little runoff, we're hiking up. Coming along another creek crossing. This trail has a plentiful amount of creek crossings. Let's take a look at the flow down. Let's cross. Easy peasy. We made it. Oh, and look at this, straight ahead. Pops of red and yellow. Pretty beautiful. Stop and take a look here. As I suspected, these are some gorgeous berries. Wild berries along the trail here at Timberline Loop. Just finished large uphill section and a couple creek crossings. And look at that. Absolutely spectacular wall of scree. We're looking at the side of the base of the glorious Mount Hood. We're starting to enter what I would consider to be the Alpine range of this trail. I wanted to stop and show you this absolutely spectacular avalanche of scree, giant boulders here at the base of Mount Hood. Absolutely beautiful. As we take this switchback and continue on up Timberline Loop. Just got to the top of that long uphill section. I'm going to show you this beautiful alpine meadow, discolored, clearly a place where there's running water part of the year, probably some glacial runoff. We are looking at a beautiful golden red meadow, and I wanted to show you the scree above it. Absolutely beautiful. This is part of Mount Hood Wilderness Timberline Loop. Let's keep going. After a long uphill old growth section with a lot of elevation gain, we have made it to what I would say would be the outskirts of the beautiful Alpine Wonderland. Got a junction here. If we stay on this trail, we're on Timberline Loop towards the Cairn Basin. Other choice is to turn left to Mazama Trail. Don't want to go that way. let's keep going this way. Look at that incredible alpine forest straight ahead. Look at those trees. That section looks absolutely beautiful. I think we've just entered one of the Alpine Wonderland zones. Sometimes you can detect when you've entered the beautiful section, and my radar is going off. I think we are getting into the Alpine Heaven Wonderland section. Pretty beautiful mountain view to our right. Oh my gosh, look at that. That is absolutely spectacular. I try to zoom in and get a little better view of those white puffy clouds behind it. Got the sun peeking in, casting a radiant glow over this emerald basin. Look at that, absolutely spectacular. We have entered the Alpine Wonderland. Absolutely spectacular section, Mount Hood Wilderness here on the Timberline Trail at the base of Mount Hood. This is an absolutely dreamy, incredible Alpine Wonderland. Absolutely epic. At the base of Mount Hood. We're here in a Mount Hood Wilderness Basin, dotted with old growth and alpine trees. These particular trees are mountain hemlock. Look at that, absolutely spectacular.